grandkids to know, like, what if I could say something to my great great grandkids? And so, and how many grandkids would I want to say it to? And so for me, I said, well, I want to impact 50 generations over the last 400 years, because I always think about the history in which I come from and the things that I don't know of all of my ancestors that have been left behind, because that's kind of, when we look at disenfranchised communities, I'm for helping everyone, but at the end of the day, my heart lies with the disenfranchised, because those are the people that fail to leave a legacy, thinking that they're not enough, or thinking that you have to be rich in order to leave a legacy. And the truth of the matter is, your experience is your legacy. The lessons you learn are your legacy, and whatever else you want to leave behind is simply an added bonus. I can't hear you.
I put myself on mute so I could listen and just focus on every word you were saying. Yeah, it's about that legacy that we leave for our people, right? For our children and our great grandchildren. My precious grandson is 5.5 years old. And anytime that I get a little bit like, gosh, is it really worth it? Or, things get a little challenging, I focus on him because it's not just about him, but it's his children's children, right? And also leaving that wealth, but leaving the knowledge and the wisdom. See, that's what I think isn't really taught, or really people don't really understand. It's not just about the money. Get real wealthy, not just for the money, but for the person you have to become. And then you can leave that legacy. You can leave your knowledge, your wisdom, right? Your words. So I love that you said that. That was so profound. And Queen Dr. Leslie Flower says it's about self image. We don't believe we deserve it or smart enough to do it, right? We're making it about ourselves. And I think so many times that we think that in order to get where we want to go, we're going to be the same person that we are. I've heard it said that have the goal to be a millionaire, not for the money, but for the person that you have to become in order to achieve it. And so
Yes.
that's oftentimes why we can't see it, because we're not that person yet. You said you like to strategize backwards. I call it reverse engineering. If we
Yeah.
know where you want to go, then we can strategize and mastermind and put those systems in place in order for you to achieve that. So I love that. So you talked a lot about like 50 generations, like making an impact. What is some of the impact that you want to make? Like, just say, you know what, today was that day, and you had to give some words of wisdom. What would be some of the legacy that you want to leave, like at who you are right now? What do you think is that legacy?
I'm gonna go with my favorite quote, right? I believe it's a Muhammad Gandhi quote, and it's "Be the change you want to see." And then there's another one that's added to that, which I don't know where I picked it up. I just found it on the internet about 10 years ago, and it stuck with me and never left. And it says, "If you don't know a good person, then be one." And so I, when I came up with like the ultimate butterfly effect, the whole um, like my passion behind it was, what if I could be that one positive change, or one positive greeting, or that one positive thing that a person needs to be, that needs to have in their life to make a positive impact forever. And so I make my own day by impacting others. And it's not necessarily anything to do with money. It's just like the power to see people, I believe. It's just the most underrated power that we all have.
Wow, I love that. I love that. So for me, when I think about that, what you were just saying, um, this is what I think about it, is that we talk a lot about, how can I put this? So oftentimes people say, well, you know what? I don't want to be wealthy. I just want to be happy. But I say, why do we have to choose? Why can't we have
Yeah.
both? And when we're happy, we're going to what? We're going to have more energy. We're going to become a magnet for more happiness.
Yep.
I don't believe that money changes us. I think it makes us more of who we are. It exposes who we truly are. And if you're a good person, and you have money, guess what? You're going to be a better person because you can be that change. You have the resources to be able to impact not just your family, but other people. And when we're focused on the impact that we can make, that's when I think that gives us that encouragement. That's what gives us that 3 seconds, that 5 seconds of courage where we can do the things that most people won't. So I love that you said that, is that you're going to make a tremendous impact, and you already have. I mean, you've impacted me so profoundly. I think the first time she laughed, she's so cute. So she doesn't know this, but one of the first times I was getting on LinkedIn audio rooms was actually in her room, and they were talking about the generations and the legacies and all these things. And it was one of the first times that I'd heard somebody in outside of my industry, outside of my company, really talk about it that way. And really it gave me that courage to do this, what I'm doing now. I didn't set out on LinkedIn to have be doing this. I promise you, my first video was, "Hi, I'm Leah Garcia. I sell insurance." Like, this was not what I thought I was going to do. But what I've learned is that if I can be more courageous, then I can have more impact. If it's about me, then I'm going to worry about how my hair looks and, have all these things that we feel like we need to have perfect, but we're never going to be there, right? We're never going to be there. You have so much courage. I want to know, where does that come from?
Um, I never see me the way that other people see me, and I know that's my comfort in the audio rooms, because when people actually see me, they realize how bashful I am. But it took for recently. I went and did like some soft skills testing, right? Just asking my immediate network, and I ended up going out to maybe 80 people that like knew me over 20 years total, because I just kept wanting to know. But I think that my son said, I asked my oldest son, who's 25, what do you think about me? Like, what do you think about me? And he's like, I think you kind of conquered the game of life and you're just coming back to clear boards. And I said, what do you mean by that? Like, what does that even mean? And he says, well, you say you're going to do something and you just do it. And it's like, well, for me, that's just called keeping your word. Like, I don't think about it. Like, when I view my most courageous, to me, I'm just doing what I want to do. I'm just keeping my word. I'm just doing what I said I would do. And so I've never actually labeled myself as courageous, but I've had many other people to do it. But it's just like, I can't fail. I've been a mom since I was a teenager. And so it's like, life has never been about me. I don't know what about me actually feels like. And so it's just, if you give your word, you honor your word. And so whenever I say I'm going to do something, I tend to do it, because that's that's the ethics that I live by.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that so oftentimes my mentor taught me is that if we break the promises, the word that we make to ourselves, that's why our identity is low, because we don't trust ourselves, right? We don't even believe our own word. How can we expect others to believe in us to keep the word that we made to them, the
Yeah.
promises that we made to them? And we've got a few more comments. Mr. Mike Drop, he's David Jones. Okay, I cannot call him David Jones. He's Mr. Mike Drop to me. He's always
I
dropping
love
golden
David. I
nuggets.
feel the same
I
way.
know, he's so amazing. He says, raising people's vibration, right? When we raise our vibration, then the things that we want is we're going to become more attractive to that. And Queen Dr. Leslie says, we can have all three: happy, healthy, and wealthy. That's right. Amen to that. I say that again, Queen Dr. Leslie, for the people in the back. And Arnelia Karat, she says, hello from Slovenia. Thank you for joining
Oh,
us.
I met her in the on LinkedIn recently.
Oh,
She has
awesome.
some really amazing content. If people have an opportunity to check it out, I was like on her profile. I was like, this is really cool.
That's
But I like to get to
awesome.
know people. I think that everything becomes better when we actually like authentically take the time to see people. I think that there's a lot that can be said, and there's so much overlooked, especially on platforms as LinkedIn, places that are deemed professional. People have a standard of what their standards are or what they've been taught. And I think that it's okay to drop the standard, because having it all requires you to drop the standard, in my opinion. Because when we drop these standards and actually say, okay, I'm open to abundance, that's what abundance is. It's no barriers, right? And I think that most of the things that I can put in my accomplishment box have come from just seeing people with the naked eye for who they are and not what I think, if that makes sense
Wow.
the way that I
It
said it.
makes total, yeah, it does make really, really good sense. I don't feel like I'm an incredibly gifted or talented person, but one thing that I do believe that I really God has really given me is a gift to really to see people who they can be.
Yeah.
And I don't even, it's something that I only and I say it's a gift because it's something that I don't even consciously think about. When I meet somebody, it's almost just like, I just get this divine download that says, man, this person is this person could be great this. And I just love to speak like that into people because sometimes they've never heard it before, you know
Same.
and I think that it's given to me so that I can share it. And I can share it because it's not coming out of ego. I'm not there competing. I just love to edify and to pour belief into other people. I really do. That's what this show is about. Is really is about my opportunity to learn and to pour belief into other people and give them an opportunity to shine. I think so many times we're coming from ego and we feel like if they shine, then I can't shine too. And I just don't believe that at all. I think that when we're ability to take that back seat and allow other people to shine, then eventually that greatness will come, that shine will come back to us, right? It always comes back to us multiplied. So let me ask you this. I'm sorry, go ahead. Did you have something? I feel like you wanted to say
No,
something.
I was looking for the mute button because I wanted to cough and I didn't want to cough into the mic.
Okay. All right. We have a few more comments. You can go ahead and cough. You can go ahead and mute to get some water if you need to. Queen Dr. Leslie says, courage is conscious, fear of judgment is subconscious. Fear of judgment is subconscious. And this can get really deep, but our subconscious mind is always on, always aware, always awake. That's why it's very, very critical that we protect what we're exposing ourselves to. Mr. Mike Drop says, so true. If you aren't going to do it right the first time, then don't do it at all. That's right. Because you know what? Then you have to spend all this time undoing it.
Okay, so I do want to say something about that one. And the thing is, and I do believe that you should give 100% your best effort when you do something, but I think the ideology of doing it right sometimes hold people back. And so I want to say don't be afraid to fail, because the times that I'm the least courageous is when I overthink it. Like I said before, when I'm generally in a space where people would consider me being like brave or courageous. I remember the first time I left America, I went crazy. I went to like 13 countries. I stayed gone for a month and I was alone and I was just bouncing all over the place. And I couldn't tell anybody because I didn't want anybody to speak fear over me. But the truth of the matter is I just prayed and went wherever my heart desired. I didn't think about it. I didn't think about what doing it right looked like. I just did what I wanted to.
Mm.
And I think that there's nothing wrong with saying that or believing that. But I also think that sometimes, depending on a person's belief system, that whole right thing, or right or wrong, can hold people back. And I think that sometimes you have to just be like Nike and just do it. Like, if you fail, it's okay. You learn from it. There's no such thing as a failure if you do it, because it's like, okay, well, like now, this is the second time I've done this. The first time I did this was with Mr. Mike Drop and Tara when we unleashed my amazing biz in a box. Um, and I was so nervous. I came on, I had like my little hat on, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And now that it's like my son is like, he's telling me as we're setting up, he says, Mom, you're on camera all the time. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm on FaceTime. And he's like, exactly, you're on camera. And so I'm like, well, when you say it that way, you're right. But to me, I don't do lives. I don't do this. And I didn't, I was so worried about doing it right that I've shied away from it for almost a year. And so I don't think it's a do it right thing as much as it's a just do it thing, because it was Mr. Mike Drop for me that said, just push the button. And when I would get fearful at times, I would literally hear David Jones' voice in my head saying, just push the button, just push the button. And that him just simply stating that would get me to the point.
Yeah. That's so good. And in case you don't know what just push the button means, I'm going to unpack that a little bit because I'm pushing the button too. If you are ready to get rid of your dusty, crusty business card and website and upgrade it, you got to talk to Mr. Mike Drop. It's David Jones. Okay. I call him Mr. Mike Drop because he's always dropping those. And Miss Tara Bush, and they will help you to upgrade it. And if you don't know what I mean, follow Coach K. She's got her biz in a box and it is decadent. It is absolutely beautiful, vibrant, then you can really get to know who she is in spite of her being bashful, which I'm not buying that. But anyway, um, Queen Dr. Leslie says, do right things rather than doing things right. Wow, that's a mic drop. And
I agree.
people say that you have to be willing to fail. But really, if you are learning the lesson and you're getting better, it's not really failure. To me, we're sharpening our sword, right? We
Yeah.
can only sharpen our sword through fire. That's what a samurai does. So a fire isn't going to be, silent and it not burn. It's going to be burning. It's
Yeah.
going to be burning. It's going to be hot. It's going to get a little messy. But then through that, we're forged through the fire. So let me ask you, we talked about fear. Okay. And you're kind of overcoming this fear because I did see that first one and you're just so cute. And now look at you. We got the background. She's got the lipstick. I mean, she looks incredible.
I mean,
Um,
it's Leah Garcia here. Like, hello.
okay. Oh my gosh. You're so funny. So if somebody is facing some fear and you did it, like you just say, just do it. But a lot of people, it can be paralyzing and they have this vision. Their heart is in the right place. They're doing the things. But what is maybe something that they could do, a takeaway from this, if they're feeling that fear? What is some things that they can have in their tool belt that they can pull back on to kind of help them to get through that?
Well, since you already put the disclaimer out, and I can just be myself with you, and I mean, like I said, a lot of what I say and do and how I live, I would say Instagram is probably my most, when I was private, but it was my most open social media where people can see the dates that I've been using these theories. But I literally say, fuck it. Like when I did that trip, it wasn't a big planned out thing. Like, it's just like, fuck it. Like, you're either gonna do it or you're not, And it's like saying that gets me over the hump. And
Mm,
most people, for whatever reason, are fearful about saying it. And I don't know if it's because it's a swearing, but I got it from a comedian, to be totally honest with you. I was watching a stand-up comedy about a decade or so ago. And one of the comedians was just like, fuck it, like you tried everything else. Like, this is what
mm,
you say you want. Just give it a shot. Like Nike's Just Do It was the mild version, but I think overthinking it is sometimes the problem within itself. And it's like once you tell yourself fuck it, you gotta mean it and just like wing it sometimes. Like, see what happens. Because it can be the most beautiful failure of your life. Like I
mm.
told somebody before, I'm like, I failed my way into making $200,000 a month consecutively until I started going through the papers and realizing what I had done. I'm like, I did not plan this. This was not my plan. I was just doing the right thing, so to speak, just helping people and just doing what I knew was right. Kind of like what Dr. Leslie said when she said, what was it about the right thing? You said because I can't see.
Do right things rather than doing things right.
So I was just helping people. Like, people would come to me. I never, up until recently, I never pitched a client. People would literally find me from just doing the right things. And they weren't always word of mouth. I don't know how some of the people that found me, to be completely honest with you. Um, they'll just say, "Oh, somebody told me about you. Did you still do this?" And I'm like, "Well, tell me what your problem is." That's my favorite line. Tell me what your problem is, and I'll let you know if I can help. Because I've never allowed myself to be put in a box. It's just like, what's your problem? If I can help, I'll help, and if I know someone that can help, then we'll see what what the next step will look like. But I think that overthinking it is the biggest kryptonite and crippler of successful people, entrepreneurs, and just breaking away from, you have to be in this box, you have to be this way, or success looks this way, or the right way is this way. Like, that's when you lose your authenticity. That's when you lose yourself, especially because it's like, are you doing what someone else think is right, or are you doing what you
Right.
know in your heart is right? Because that looks
Yeah.
different from different people in the same world at the same moment. Like, you could be next to me, and right for me might not be right for you. And so I think that people need to release the fear of being right.
Wow. I feel like you're speaking right to me. So, and sometimes following that inner guidance system, your intuition, the Holy Spirit, whatever it is for you, means that you are going to do things that other people probably don't agree with. Other people are going to resist. Your family, it's the crabs in the bucket. They're going to start to try to pull you down. My family thinks I'm crazy. And the crazier that they think I am, the more excited that I get because I grew up in abstract poverty, food stamps and welfare, surrounded by gangs and drugs. I always wanted to be a schoolgirl. Like I love school. I was a nerd. I didn't just become a nerd. I've always been a nerd. I love to study. I love to learn. Right? So, and then we talk about being authentic, but then we're trying to follow the crowd. We talk about being genuine, but then we're so consumed and concerned about what other people's values are instead of following our own. So I love that. That was so good. And Mr. Mike Drop says fear equals focus, energy, arranged to retract. Dr. Leslie Flowers says overthinking happens when what you want is unclear because it makes decisions harder. Yeah, if we're not clear, and I think I'd love to know your take on this, um, Miss Queen K. I think that many people don't know what they want. I will tell you, I
Yeah.
went through a divorce after 19 years of marriage. And the first time I went out to have a cup of coffee with a gentleman, he asked me, "What kind of coffee do you like?" And I kid you not, I remember the feeling to this day. It was like the movie where everything kind of focuses in on you. And I literally looked up at Starbucks at the menu and I had no idea. I had never really made my decisions, right? Somebody else was always making those decisions. I allowed someone else, I'm not going to put it on him. I allowed someone else to make my decisions for me. And so I think that so many times we're afraid. I don't know what it is, but I'd love to hear your take on it. I think sometimes that we're afraid to really say or know what we want. What's your interpretation? Why do you think that people don't know what they want? And if they don't, why do you think that is?
So I'm going to say this. This is the first thing that came to mind when I hear that. And I didn't think about this until last year when I started working my program on young kids. And so, and when I hear that you say you grew up in abandonment poverty, or abstract poverty, I'm sorry. So I didn't grow up quite impoverished, but I grew up in what one would consider the hood. I came from a middle class family, and my mom and my stepdad back in the 90s made over six figures, which was good, that time. But we always lived in a black community. I come from a very segregated city, and so I got to see both sides of the coin, and I got to see segregation and what limited environment looks like, and how people behave in a limited environment, in comparison to people that didn't live in a place that limited their beliefs because of financial abilities, right? And so when I hear that, I personally can root almost everything down to self love, because that's what I know I teach. And so when I hear that someone don't know what they want, it's because I went into the middle school and I'm in the elementary schools this year, and I teaching seventh grade last year, I was the first person that asked half my kiddos, "What do you like?" It's linked to abandonment to a degree, because
Yeah.
if no one's ever really asked or cared about what you like, why would you think about it even? It's not until we hear certain questions or certain things are asked of us that we even have to think about it, because we got 50,000 other things that we're thinking about naturally. And so I don't think it's a bad thing at all, but I just know that this is why certain conversations must be had, because oftentimes people are not asked what they're like. We live in a very systematic society of capitalism where it's like, do this, do this, do this, do that, walk this way, chew this way, go here, learn that. And so when everything is structured out for you, it doesn't leave as much creative time to think about what is it that you really want, what is it that you really like. And if you're married or have kids on top of that, then that even limits down those choices more, because you begin to live a life of what does my family need.
Yeah. That's so, so good. Queen Dr. Leslie says, without a clear purpose, there will be no success. And she says, one goal at a time, easier to be clear. So many times people have all these things they want to achieve. And I have all these things I want to achieve. But this is something that I learned from Queen Dr. Leslie is focus on the one thing. What is the one goal you want? She says 12 weeks in the next 12 weeks. I love what you're saying is that it's about self love. And my precious grandson, he received in TK, he received the Snake Award and I loved it. I was so proud because they said the Snake Award was for the child who was always finding new ways to do things. And I was so proud of him because he and I have these deep conversations. He's 5.5 years old, but I'm telling you, this little boy is a thinker. And he sometimes will push back on what I say. And I love it. I'm like, oh, tell me more about that. What makes you feel that way? How did you come up with that idea? And when we can see that in our children, instead of saying, chew the gum, sit here, walk here, sometimes as parents, and I can say I probably did this with my children, we get so caught up in the day to day that we forget to give them that opportunity to resist it, because maybe at that moment there's a reason why that they say no. So I absolutely love that you said that. One thing that I do, well, a couple of things that I do for self-love is number one, I love the beach. So I go and I take my walks on the beach, and I have to really force myself because then I feel like, gosh, I'm wasting time. But I, leave my phone. That's why a lot of times I don't have photos, because I just leave my phone and I just force myself to go out there and just enjoy it in meditation. What kinds of things do you do to help you for your self-love?
Um, well, lately I've been forcing myself to do nothing. I'll take time where I may, like, for 20 minutes, not take a nap. I may just lay on the bed and do nothing. But over the last several years, I realized that cooking is my creative outlet. And so my favorite thing to do is to go, especially when I have people to feed. I didn't realize that that was a part of motherhood that I actually missed, I guess I'll say. Like, technically, I would be an empty nester, but I am taking care of my goddaughter, who she'll be 6 this month. And so I essentially started completely over. But I remember when my kids, before they grew up and started moving out, I wouldn't know what to feed myself without my kids being home. I would just not know how to not cook for a family. I've been cooking since I was 8 years old for my brothers and sisters. And so when I had my own family, it naturally became, my thing that I love to do. And so I didn't realize that I love cooking. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I would just invite people over and say, "Are you hungry? Tell me your favorites," and then I'll just create things around it. So I would say that cooking is like one of my creative outlets that I thought I kind of undervalued it as a creative outlet. And
Well,
journaling. I'm a big journaler.
journaling. Oh, yeah, that's so good. I can't really say that I'm a great cook, but I'm a fantastic eater. So I think we're a perfect couple.
We are. I like when my food make people happy. So it's like, come over and eat. Are you
Oh
hungry?
yeah, I love to eat. I enjoy eating. I love the whole process of like I'll be there chopping, I'll pour the wine, like I got you. But as far as like knowing creative recipes, that's just not my forte. I'm great Door Dasher. And we got some great comments that have come in here. Let's see. Mr. Mike Drop. Most people react in life, not respond, which is why I say react, which react based on our traumas, dramas, patterns, and programs in life. Woo, that's a deep one. Wow, we got some really good comments here. Arnelia, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. The biggest problem people face is a lack of clarity. Many are afraid to dive deep and do the inner work. That would help them to gain clarity on what they want to achieve. Wow. Yeah, it's work. It
It is.
it's
And
work.
it
It's
hurts.
easy to stay comfortable. It hurts. Yeah. Why do you say that? Tell me more about that.
So I was just having this conversation with my husband last night, literally. And he goes, because I just got married this year, and so we're in a new space of vulnerability. And he's like, I don't. He's gonna kill me for this one, but luckily he's not on LinkedIn, so he won't know I said it. But he's like, I'll be crying and stuff, and I said it's because you're in a safe place, and it's okay. I said, and it's gonna. I said I remember when I was in that stage of self discovery. Um, it felt like a piece of me was literally being ripped out. And I think that people have a
Mm,
misconception of love feeling good. Love is the truth.
mm,
And so that was the thing you and I had a conversation about the other day when I was saying, sometimes I kind of pull back because I speak different than people in professional places because I've worked for myself my entire life practically. So I've never had to talk like this or do like that. I've had moments, but very, very, very rare will I change my dialect of how I speak. And so because I speak natural, I get tagged with negative connotations for being so direct. And at
yeah.
first, that was weird to me because I'm like, I'm just being honest. And love is honesty. My husband said all the time, he's like, you are love. And I'm like, no, I'm truth because I won't tell you what you want to hear if I love you. I don't connect with people that I don't love in terms of personal conversations. And for some reason, we have this fairy tale in our head that love is supposed to feel good. But the growth comes in that, like, the truth hurts because it's the truth. You get what I'm saying? And so, if I really love you and you're about to do something that I know will hurt you, it's my responsibility to tell you the truth, no matter how you feel in that moment, because growth looks like progression. And when we're healing and when we're growing, it sometimes hurt. And when people can remember that, I think that they could push past it a lot easier because love does not always feel good. Like being in love and loving moments feel good. But when you think about true moments of growth in terms of love, even for self, like walking away from someone that's toxic, for example, that
Mm.
hurts because you're grieving a friendship that you may be used to. It might not be that that person died, but when you realize that someone you love is not good for you, it is not easy and it does not feel good to walk away at all. But
Oh my
self love,
gosh.
that's exactly what self love looks like. We've been so conditioned to love thy neighbor, and that is true. We should, but not more than we love thyself.
Wow. Yeah. So you just answered a question for me. Uh, um, and that is recently I have been, and this has been, listen, you could judge me all you want, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I have been having just moments of just crying out of nowhere, like literally like there's no reason to be crying. I'm at a happy moment and then just tears are coming. And I am very, very sentimental anyway, but in it, so now I know. I mean, I feel like I am doing a lot of growth right now. I'm intentionally doing a lot of things that are uncomfortable that I don't want to do because I understand that everything that I want is on the other side of that. It's on the other side of that. Wow,
Yeah.
Coach K. You
Anyone
just
that's been
dropped
in
the
my
golden
LinkedIn
nugget.
rooms or in rooms with me a year ago, I cried all the time when I first got on LinkedIn. Like, what brought me to this side of LinkedIn was I couldn't walk. It took for me to not be able to do for others, for me to actually pour into myself. And so I started doing shadow work and just putting myself out there because I remember when I would go through really horrific situations when I was younger. And I remember telling myself, God allowed you to survive this so that you can help someone else survive, that you made it out because someone else did it. And so when I started doing the shadow work, that healing space makes you open up. There's times where I may hear a song and just cry from pure gratitude. And my husband be like, "Oh my God, what's wrong? I can't handle you crying." And I'm like, "Stop talking. This is God working because I'm releasing things that I was carrying around that it was never meant for me to hold this long." And so I encourage crying to the full capacity because sometimes we suppress so much. And sometimes it's little things that we're not even realizing because we've normalized hurt and toxicity in society. And because so many have been through so much, we think, oh, well, this little thing didn't matter. And we just tuck it down further inside of us until we can't tuck anymore. And so sometimes I cry from gratitude, from just being alive. I come from a place where, I don't know, we probably 9 years in the murder capital of the United States. And it's like, and I think about when I became a young mom, the things that were said to me, and I look back at my journey and just seeing how far I actually have come, it's like, why would I not cry? I'm alive. It's somebody that can't even open their eyes today. And so I don't believe that there's anything to be ashamed of. I think that there's honor in crying and showing that we are still real.
Yeah. I'm curious, were you peeking in my bedroom window last night? I'm telling you, I was going through a sentiment, but I was enjoying it. I was I was listening to music and I'm telling you the tears were just flowing. The tears were just flowing and I wasn't sad, but it was just in that. And I think it's what you're saying is that it's a
It was
relief.
healing, right?
It's a healing. Absolutely. And I got to tell you the song I was crying to.
Mm-hmm. What was it?
Um, it is a long version of Purple Rain. Prince's
Oh,
long
okay.
version where he just do it. Oh, he just go and oh my God, I listened to that song. You all know that I listen to songs on repeat. That was just going over and over. Oh my goodness.
That
So
sounds
yeah,
like
I
you'd be
get it.
a candidate for for me to come kidnap you, cook for you, and say, let's go to a violin concert. That
Oh
violin's my
my
favorite
gosh.
instrument.
Oh yes. Oh, so you know Pound Cake is one of my favorite songs.
No, I didn't know that.
Lucienda. Oh my God. Yes, you're speaking to me. Absolutely. You just don't even know. I am so deep. Anyway, here we go. Here, Mr. Mike Drop says crying is nothing more than water and releasing the stress and emotions from our body that we need that we hold in. Yeah, I'm just releasing things. I feel like I'm sloughing off a layer. I truly do. So this conversation was absolutely for me. I know you're going to get other golden nuggets from every people, but I know and I truly believe that these events are really for me, the people that I need in my life, and you are definitely that for me, my Queen Coach K. And I just really believe that we're on the precipice of something incredible that you and I are going to do together. I truly, truly believe that. Miss Arnelia says, Leah Garcia, I feel you. I'm going through the same thing, but crying is healthy. It helps release emotions. Also, last month we had a super blue moon and Mercury retrograde, which made everything even more intense. Yeah, and I feel things pretty intensely. That's why one of the reasons why I don't watch TV and I rarely go to the movies. Now, I'm not against it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying for me, when I realized this is I was involved with a book club and there had been an event with some firefighters in our small town and one of the firefighters had fallen through the roof and he died and he was somebody that we knew, very small community. At the time it was maybe 10,000 population in this community. And so I went to the book club and we all went there and everybody knew what had happened and they turned on the news and they're watching it and then And then they listened to it and everybody was sad for a moment. And then they turned it off and then they went on to the book club to talk about the book club. And I will tell you that I could not focus on the book club. I was still there in grief. I was still there feeling it. And so that's when I realized that I feel things very deeply. And so part of the reason why I don't watch television is because it does impact me too deeply. I get too like involved in it. So I'm kind of curious, are there some things for you, Coach K, that you kind of have to stay away from because because it does impact you maybe in a different way that it impacts other people?
Yes. So I just started back watching TV a little bit, but I can't watch like I don't watch demonic things. I don't watch like people getting hurt. I don't watch things on the internet of people getting hurt. Like when people get murdered, I can read articles, but I can't visually see it because I know that God shielded my eyes from a lot of death when I was growing up. I was in places, and I was protected. And I believe that one of the reasons that I was protected is to not be desensitized because I think a lot of people have become very desensitized and detached. And so I stay away from gruesomeness. I stay away from things and people that I don't desire to become like. And so I'm extremely intentional about everything I do, but I try to stay open minded. I went through stages where I probably didn't watch TV for years or I didn't do this for years, but then I realized I'm missing out on some things. And so when I do watch things, I don't watch actual live TV. Like I'll take recommendations, I'll check the trailer, and then we'll have TV time with the family because what I've realized is things that made you happy as a kid still make you happy. And so I make like me, my husband, my goddaughter, and my son, we may all pile up in the living room sometime and watch old movies or movies that, have a very deep family impact because movies are stories too, right? You can't have a movie without the story. And so the movies that made me happy as a kid, I like to watch them with my goddaughter because they actually make her happy too. And we have that connectivity time where I teach at her school. Sometimes I don't want to talk, but we still need to have that bonding connection time. And so I would say that. I would also say I'm very leery about going into. I'm very leery about going into places with too many people and too much energy in the air, if that makes sense. Like I do a lot of my events as controlled environments where only maybe 10 to 12 people can come through because I pick up on energy very easily, like as an empath as well. And so I actually monitor the amount of energy that I will have in a room with me most days.
Yeah, that's so good. We got to protect our energy. And Miss Tara Bush says, yes, indeed, ladies. David Jones, I love react better than respond. Absolutely. And I know she loves Mr. David Jones also. They are my favorite power couple. I have to know. I love love. I'm a romantic and I just love those two. They're so wonderful. They're both fire. I met Mr. Mike Drop first and I said, oh my gosh, he started talking about Miss Amazing Tara Bush. And I said, oh my goodness, I got to get to know her. And she's fire too. So I absolutely adore them. So we're kind of winding down here. Share with us, if you will, Madam Queen, where is Coach K, the next 2-3 years from now? What's on the horizon for you?
Um, I am looking forward to the next 2 to 3 years getting into corporate. I'm scaling up for corporate. Actually, next month I start pitching more to corporate to where I can do more for groups as individuals, if that makes sense. And so I like um, I like intertwining business and giving back. I don't believe for me, I'm not gonna say for everybody, but for me, I look forward to merging business and personal a lot because I feel like business is missing a personal touch in a lot of situations. And I look forward to coming out of the shadows a bit more than I have been. Thank you. Just leave the door. Um, I look forward to connecting people again, because I feel like during COVID we lost the sense of touch and connection of just getting together. Um, the next 2 to 3 years, I look forward to using my business to create more memories.
Yeah. Whew, this is good stuff. I love it. Oh, I love that coffee mug. Absolutely.
Thank
Business
you.
is missing that personal touch.
Yeah.
I totally agree. You know, there's loyalty is kind of a antique, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
That in the program we're doing, like helping families, like they're mine. So, and I don't know if I hit this number because I didn't track it properly, but same time that I made the goal to retire by 35 when I was 18, I pledged to help at least 750 families or 750 individuals. But the idea behind the concept was considering each employee that's within a business. So I definitely want to up that number now, but the ability to impact business in a way that each individual and their families can be uplifted.
yeah.
That's the big picture. Like, to just, it sounds so cheesy, but heal the world. That's like that's my goal. I have that Michael Jackson song stuck in my head, heal the world, make it a better place. And so I'm looking to take my teachings and put it on uh a broader platform, but not necessarily the internet as much. Some things will be on the internet, but I look forward to impacting lives in person in larger numbers.
Yeah. And that's my word for 2024 is impact.
Yeah.
What is the impact that I want to have on this world? I love that. Well, this has been incredible. I've got a ton of golden nuggets, a ton of gold bars. This was definitely for me, for sure. And so if people want to work with you, Coach K, how do they reach you?
They can go to my Biz in a Box, created by Mr. Mike Drop and the super amazing Tara, and book a 15-minute consultation. Right now, I'm not offering one-on-ones. I may offer them this fall. And so the things that I have to offer is a private community at this time, as well as virtual classes, and you and then and personal experiences. But the only way to get an invite to the personal experience is through attending one of the classes.
Okay, perfect. Well, I love it, love it, love it. This has been incredible. This is one to study. I am so humbled and honored that you came and you showed up and you brought your beautiful background. It was such a pleasure. And I just love doing these. And so I know it's more, more, more to come. So that's going to finish it for this edition of Wealthy Wednesday. And again, my name is Leah Garcia, financial strategist and insurance professional. And I'd love to help you build that legacy that you can create your generational wealth. And I believe that every single one of us to a person can do that. We can all have that ability to create that generational wealth for and leave that legacy for our family. So that's it for us. We will see you all at the top because we know it's way too crowded at the bottom. See you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you
Thanks
for
for
all the
having me.
comments.